during the campaign. The outcome, however, might not be what the president had in mind. The reason has to do with what he said and where he said it. What's more, the item that he fixated on, crowd size at the inauguration, carried over into the day, dominating the first White House press conference. I want to take the day in order just so you can see how the issue escalated. So the CIA first, CNN's Chief National Security Correspondent Jim Sciutto reports.
Well, I want to thank everybody, very, very special people. And it is true. This is my first stop, officially.
Day one as president, and Donald Trump visiting the CIA to face the same intelligence community he has repeatedly accused of politicizing intelligence and leaking damaging information about him.
There is nobody that feels stronger about the intelligence community and the CIA than Donald Trump. There is nobody.
But Trump spent more than half his speech, 9 out of 15 minutes to be exact, talking about issues other than the intelligence community. Standing in front of a wall honoring 117 fallen CIA officers, he took swipes at the news media and, defying the facts, blaming his feud with the intelligence community on the media.
As you know, I have a running war with the media. They are among the most dishonest human beings on earth. And they sort of made it sound like I had a feud with the intelligence community. And I just want to let you know, the reason you're number one stop, it is exactly the opposite. Exactly. And they understand that too.
Fact is, the president has repeatedly criticized the intelligence community in public comments and in tweets regarding its assessment that Russia hacked the U.S. election to help him win. The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. Intelligence agencies should never have allowed this fake news to leak into the public. One last shot at me. Are we living in Nazi Germany? The president also used the moment to accuse the press of intentionally misstating crowd sizes at his inaugural.
It looked, honestly, it looked like 1.5 million people, whatever it was. But it went all the way back to the Washington Monument. And I turn on, and by mistake, I get this network. And it showed an empty field. And it said we drew 250,000 people. Now, that's not bad, but it's a lie. We had 250,000 people literally around, in the little bowl that we constructed. That was 250,000 people. The rest of the, 20-block area all the way back to the Washington Monument was packed. So we caught them. And we caught them in a beauty, and I think they're going to pay a big price.
His assault on the press was met with some applause inside the CIA.
They are among the most dishonest human beings on earth. What?
Trump telling the crowd that he knew the military and intelligence community had mostly voted for him.
And probably almost everybody in this room voted for me, but I will not ask you to raise your hands if you did.
Mr. Trump ended on a positive tone for the gathered audience.
Now, I just wanted to really say that I love you, I respect you, there's nobody I respect more, you're going to do a fantastic job, and we're going to start winning again, and you're going to be leading the charge.
And Jim Sciutto joins us now as well as the panel. Strong reaction from the former CIA Director, John Brennan.
That's right, very strongly worded statement, former for a little more than 24 hours. Let me read it. Former CIA Director Brennan is deeply saddened and angered at Donald Trump's despicable display of self-aggrandizement in front of the CIA's memorial wall of agency heroes. Brennan says that Trump should be ashamed of himself. It's remarkable. It gets to that point that is in effect the CIA's Arlington, right? Those 117 stars there, many without names, though many we know the names of those who gave their lives.
Right, those are CIA officers, agents who have sacrificed their lives, and many even now can't be named.
Exactly right. Some we know. Johnny Michael Spann, the first American killed in Afghanistan after the invasion. The 2 CIA officers killed in the Benghazi attack, for instance. But I want to make this clear because there's been a lot of talk about the politicization of intelligence agencies. Brennan was in the CIA for 25 years. He served as National Counterterrorism Director under George W. Bush. So he served Republicans and Democrats. Yes, he served the Obama administration for a number of years, but he served Republicans, and as a CIA agent, he served under multiple administrations. So, his service has been to not related to party, right? Although he's Obama appointee. And this is when I speak to folks inside the agency, that's their mantra, right? Is that we do our intelligence work, often at great risk, to presidents and administrations regardless of party.
Jeffrey Lord?
I am hard-pressed, based on the clips that you've shown tonight of Donald Trump at the CIA, to understand when the man looks at these people right in the eye and says, I love you, why this is some sort of diss of the intelligence community. I mean, the disses that you talked about were from previous times. He didn't stand there today and do that.
Well, he denied that
he
had,
denied,
first of all, dissed them in the past.
Well, he doesn't. He clearly doesn't think that.
Calling them Nazis.
Wait. There is a problem, and we've talked about this before. There is a problem in the intelligence community, and it isn't just the intelligence community. It's the entire Washington bureaucracy of leaking things.
There's a problem in the Trump administration of leaking stuff. They all leak. I mean, they all leak.
I understand, but this is the intelligence community, right. And this specific leak that he was talking about, or has been talking about, that got him all so fired up.
You can't deny he has disparaged the intelligence community, putting the word intelligence in quotes and comparing leaking, alleged leaking by the intelligence community to Nazi
Did he do that today?
No, he's denied he did it in the past today in front of that wall.
But Jeffrey, he did disrespect them today, and I've heard from people who were in the intelligence community and people who are in national security who said that he did disrespect them because he spent most of his time during this speech in front of that hallowed wall talking about crowd size at his inauguration instead of talking about the hard work that these people do. So he went there on a mission, but he didn't spend most of his time talking about the intelligence community. He said, yeah, we're all going to work off the same page. We're on the same wavelength.
Well, why is that? Why are you dismissing that, though, Glo?
Because he spent most of his time talking about other things. It was inappropriate, Jeffrey.
His leadership style as an executive is to work with people, to be a leader, but also to set a fire under them. Now, I think frankly, I think you're going to see, not only today, but you're going to see a lot as he deals with all these different bureaucracies. You're going to see more of this kind of thing, because what he's trying to do is inspire them, ignite them, get them.
But what if they're talking about crowd size at the CIA have to do with inspiring CIA
in front
officers?
of the wall of the fallen.
Sure, had he gone to Arlington when he laid that wreath so beautifully on Inauguration Day, had he done the exact same thing, would you say
Anderson,
this too?
Anderson, what he's doing is communicating.
I'm asking you, if he had done this at Arlington, would that have been appropriate?
No.
Okay.
Did he do it at Arlington? No, he didn't.
That's hallowed ground at CIA at Langley, where I got to say, I worked for 2 summers while I was in college. That is hallowed ground in that.
I understand that. What I'm trying to say is that he is communicating to them his leadership style with them. That's going to be the leadership style of the White House for 4 years.
No doubt about that.
Last night, the president went to this ball for the armed services, and his first line was, I'm glad to be here because you all voted for me, much like we saw there. And then he went on to talk to troops who were being beamed in from Afghanistan, and he asked them to ask questions. They said, congratulations. Most of them, that's all they say is, oh, I love your questions. You like me, not like these people. And never once did he say, this is a man who now has the power to send these young people into situations that could very well cost them their lives. And how about thank you for your service? We appreciate the sacrifices you and your families make for this country. And I'm only saying this because that is the role of the commander-in-chief. And when he went to the CIA today and stood before that wall, he should have known this is not the place to talk about crowd sizes or to talk about votes. This is serious business in front of an audience of people who have committed their lives to protect this country. That is part of being president. That is part of being commander-in-chief. He has to pick up this role.
But, David, with all due respect, and you know I'm not yelling at you here, but part of being commander-in-chief is not withdrawing troops from Iraq. No. Because that was a direct action of the commander-in-chief that wound up killing some of these kids.
I'm not going to dignify that, Jeffrey. I am trying to make a point about what the role of a president and you are making a political point.
I am saying if that's the role of the commander-in-chief, then it should have been executed.
If you feel that the president was appropriate last night and today, you should say so. Do you think he behaved appropriately?
I think that we are making.
Do you think he behaved appropriately?
I think that the entire question is a needle out of a haystack, and it's a typical media sort of thing.
But I mean, I got to pin you down. You say it is inappropriate if you did it at Arlington, but you can't say you won't directly criticize what the president did.
He's standing in front of a group of people. He got applause, at least in the clips that we did he not?
Yes, he did. But do you think he had a sense?
there were no boos.
Do you think he had a sense or was adequately prepared about the meaning of that space in the CIA? Do you think he knew?
Of course, I'm sure he.
And then he did it anyway and started talking about himself.
General knowledge what that wall represents, right?
That doesn't mean that he knew.
But then he started talking about himself.
Guys,
okay.
But for the larger point is, I mean, there's no reason to believe. I mean, people can express shock, people can defend it, whatever. This is who Donald Trump is. This is the way it's going to be. Moving forward. I mean, John, that is more clear than ever.
You live in interesting times. Yes, it's who he is, and part of it is we're going to have to get used to this, but part of it, to David's point, and I don't want to get into the back and forth there, part of it is he's going to have to get used to it. And we'll see. Maybe he's right. Maybe he can say all these things as president that he said as a candidate or he said as the president-elect, and it won't cause trouble. Maybe it won't move markets. Maybe it won't offend world leaders. But we do know part of those demonstrations today, especially the ones overseas, were people who he has the world's attention right now. He has the world's attention, and we'll see what he does with it. But last night, at the ball we were at, when we were sitting at the ball last night, when he came out and he asked the rhetorical question, should I stay on the Twitter, he went on to talk about the enemies. He didn't say his critics. He didn't say his political opponents. He didn't say the Democrats. He didn't say those who agree with my policies. He said the enemies. That is unusual language. I'm being polite. That is unusual language in our American political discourse, to call someone who disagrees with you your enemy, as opposed to your critic or your opponent.
So then the conversation, there was that at the CIA today, and then I moved over to the White House, and we're going to report on that, why the administration's focus with everything that's going on, everything that is happening today, the first day, remember, day one, essentially, all the things they could be talking about, the focus from them seemed to be on the crowd size yesterday, which, frankly, we didn't report much about yesterday. We didn't really talk much about it because of the importance of the